Hi, welcome back to Quilted Cactus. Today we are going to continue on working on our Shamballa Bags Secret Sew. We are going on to delivery number 3. We're almost there. We were going to make delivery 3 in all one video, so it will be a slightly longer video. I don't know how much longer, but we just want to get it all done in one sitting. This is her secret. So let me go ahead and just show the cover sheet. Again, just a quick reminder, at the time of the recording of this video, she has done all 4 deliveries and the bag final product has been, shown on her, Facebook page for the Secret Sew. So I have seen the final product. However, I had everything all picked out, and I even started Secret Sew before that for the final delivery. However, again, I want to continue on doing this because I think it would be interesting to others who want to find out more about her Secret Sew and how it's delivered. I think that to me is the main reason why I did this. I would love to have followed along exactly the way she delivered her pieces or her pattern pieces. However, I couldn't. I had other things ahead of me that I couldn't get to that. But again, it's still fun. I'm still trying to follow along the Secret Sew as if I hadn't seen anything. That's what I'm working towards. Okay, with that being said, we have again, we've done delivery 1 and delivery 2. So we're seeing in delivery 2, when we did the lining pieces, we're seeing that the shape of the bag a little bit by the shape of the lining pieces. That kind of gives it away a little bit. So we know it's got a little bit of a shape to it, which I like the shape. It's showing it's not just straight, body bag. By the measurements given in the pattern materials, we see that it is a medium-sized bag, medium maybe to large sized bag. I would say more of a medium. And we see that she's allowed there seems to be a lot of pockets in it. There's like a couple exterior pockets, which we've already sewn. We know there's going to be an exterior zipper pocket because we sewn the strap ends on our zipper ends on an exterior zipper. So we know that much. And so on this sitting, on delivery 3, there's several pieces that we're going to be looking at. As far as hardware that we're going to need for delivery 3, we're going to need our closure for the front of the bag, the snap pocket or this pocket in the front, and then we're going to need 4 rectangle rings, 1-inch rectangle rings for our straps. So we will be putting our, not straps, our strap holders, I guess you could call them. Strap connectors is the word I'm looking for. They will be attached to the front panel of the bag in this sitting. Okay, now, as far as my closure, I did state in my last video that I didn't have a thumb lock that matched in my antique brass. All I had was a turn lock. And I thought maybe it would work. The only thing that concerns me in this turn lock is the fact that I have this additional layers on top of the flap, whereas a thumb lock, which I can see why she chose the thumb lock, because its thumb lock attaches to the end. You just push it up to the end. You're not going through the materials except for like the screws to hold it in place. Whereas the turn lock goes through all layers, because you're gonna and you'll have a backing here for where the hole where the turn lock comes up through. Is what I'm trying to say. So that will be interesting. That will be part of today's video. So my hope is I can get it to work. I am concerned that there's too many layers here, that my I'll show you the piece that I'm talking about. I'm concerned that the part where the turn lock goes up through, this part here, I'm concerned that I have too many layers for this to be inserted because this piece goes on the back of it and that goes on the outside of the thing. Now, I could probably go and put it on the inside of the flap to eliminate one layer. That is possible, which I might do. I just thought of it, honestly. That could eliminate one layer. So we'll think about that. We'll get, when we get to that, we'll work on that. So anyways, so that's what we're dealing with. I did want to go over the pieces real quick. Sorry, I kind of went on about that. So, because I was holding the flap, we'll know we will need the flap in this. Retrieve the flap from your already prepared pieces for this step. And then you're also going to need the exterior slip pocket front. We made this in the last video. I'm going to keep these clipped together because I know I will be doing these at the same time. All right. We're going to need the lining slip pocket front. We're going to need the bottom bands front and back in this video. So this is the bottom band, and I chose the black for the bottom band. I think that will be neat. A little bit of that's so I'm trying to get that little extra color in there. And then we're going to need the lining slip pocket A back, and then the lining slip pocket back piece. Looks like in this section in delivery 3, we're assembling the front and the back of the bag, so we'll get an idea by the end of what it's going to look like, which I'm kind of excited because now I get to put in my beautiful Wabi Sabi Faux real vinyl in this bag and introduce it with my black and my biscuit color. So we're going to need the exterior main lining back and the exterior main lining front. They are slightly different in size, so make sure when you cut, I know we went over cutting. We didn't go over cutting of this part, but just pay attention on when you cut these out. You will have one pattern piece for each, front and back. And then you're going to need your stabilizer just for your front stabilizer. Okay, we're only going to adhere stabilizer to our front in this step. So, and which we won't do that on video. We'll get the panel completed, and then of course I will do the stabilizer off camera, but I wanted to make sure you knew that we will need this for the front only, not the back. Okay, so let's get started. The first step that we're going to do is we are going to retrieve, which one here? Our front panel. So we want our front panel here. And then we are going to get my pattern pieces out of the way here. And I do print my pattern pieces on heavy cardstock in case anybody is curious. That helps cutting. I do know some people, which is a great idea, will use like a card, like a poster board. That's a good one. Or foam board if you make multiples and you don't have like templates or anything. Those are great options to have to make pattern pieces. Okay, and I'm going to apologize if my hair looks, and I know you probably aren't looking at my hair, but I am, because I've got my camera, you know, going my direction. It's raining. It has rained all morning. I had to go to the store, and it was pouring down rain when I walked out of the grocery store. I mean, it was torrential to the point when I got home, I left my groceries in the car for a half an hour because it was raining so hard and my raincoat was soaked through. So anyways, didn't mean to add to our time about that. Okay, so let's get this pattern piece out of the way. So what you're going to do is we're going to attach our flap. I'm going to turn the camera down. That way you don't have to look at my flat hair. Sorry guys. Let's get this turned down so you can see what I'm working. Okay, sorry about that. I did it again. Every time I touch this camera to move it up and down, I hit that button. Okay, so we're going to attach the flap to the bag. And then she gives you a placement mark on her pattern piece. So that you can, I'm going to show you here. This doesn't give measurements, but she does show you on the piece the placement for the flap. So what I'm going to do, which I should have done prior to, I'm going to just get my X-Acto knife, if I can find it. There it is. I'm just going to cut get my pieces out of the way, cut a slit in that spot where that is, and that way I know where to place it. I'm just going to go right here at the first spot, and then on just get an idea of where to start and stop. And I'm just going to get a chalk pen and make a mark. Let's see. I might need to just do a hole punch. That might be easier to do a hole punch, but let me see. Let me get my pattern piece. You're just going to lay your pattern piece on. Make sure you've got it on straight. You can, if you want, so it holds still, you can do some clips. I like these little cheap hair clips. They're flat. They're not like the, you know, plastic clippies where you've got that raised spot. This keeps your piece flat. All right, so I'm going to try to mark it. I think I might need to punch a hole. Sometimes you can do that, and then you can get a little, I got a little dot. That's all I need is a little dot, because I'm going to use a ruler to make it a straight line. Sometimes if you just go over it enough, you can, I did. Oh, good deal. I got little dots, and that's all I need. I'm going to show you real close here in just a second. So if you look real close, you can see little dots. That's where my start and stop points are. So I'm just going to get me a ruler and then get my chalk pen out. And I'm using a chalk pen because it's easily removed. I have this this Tandy silver pen, which is removable. But I tell you, well, let me try it. I tell you what, sometimes it doesn't mark well for me, but we're going to give it a shot. Actually, I had dropped it on the floor under my sewing machine, and I cleaned out from under it, so I haven't been able to use it for a bit. Let's see if it still works. Get my line, and I'm just using my ruler from point to point. That way, it's a straight line rather than, you know, trying to make it straight, cutting through a pattern piece. Okay, so I've got my line drawn. You can see a little bit, and that's all you need. Now, this Tandy pen, it can be permanent if you put it on the wrong fabrics and if you don't wipe it off. So I have the water wipes. Make sure if you're wiping anything off on your vinyl that you're using a water-based wipe, because if you put anything with chemicals on it, it can mess up your vinyl. It just depends on the type of vinyl that you have. Okay, so let me get my center points as well. I like to have my center points marked on my piece, just to keep that center point accurate. And again, I just use tiny little snips, and I always stay out of my seam allowance. At least always I try. Sometimes I get aggressive on my little snips. I just have to watch myself, because it don't look like a lot when you snip it, but then when you open it, it's a little more than, you know, whatever. Okay, now I already have a center mark point made for when I attached my little design there. So I'm just going to kind of, because the flap line is just a tad longer, I'm going to take my ruler. This is how I'm going to do that. I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm going to note where my center is from the top. Again, this is just to assurance that I actually center this pocket, because obviously you do not want to make your pocket go wrong. But that line helps me keep it straight, since I made it straight on the thing. So we're going to put our flap, and we're going to put our flap wrong side up, or on the underneath part of the flap, and just measure it on your center point here, and then keep it on the line. I'm going to do that. I'm going to hold it down on each side of that ruler, and then I'm going to pull my ruler out. That way it doesn't move my piece. All right. Now, you can use tape or whatnot. Again, I'm just going to, like my lining, I am just going to hold it in place and then sew it on. And then this is a part where if you have an industrial machine, a domestic, this part may be a little difficult if you have a domestic. So this, my suggestion to you, if you have a domestic machine, I would try to use alternative materials for this part, because I know my domestic would not like this at all. I am going to have to pull it like this, because this vinyl is not sticky, but it's got that nice backing to it, and it makes it not as easy to move. Okay, so you're going to top stitch this pocket on from the raw edge. You're going to go in at a top stitch length. Now I am not using a top stitch line, a top stitch, what word am I thinking? I'm sorry. Stitch length. I'm going to go back to my 4 to sew this pocket top on. So, and you're going to start, make sure when you start sewing, you start sewing on the flap, not outside the flap, because that will show a little bit in your final product. So be careful when you start your stitching. My advice would be to lower the needle manually to make sure you are hitting the flap and not going straight onto the vinyl. Okay, because your flap is going to be a tiny bit smaller than your pocket, because when you attach your straps and stuff, you got to have that little extra leeway to close your flap or close your pocket. And just back stitch, of course. Make sure when you back stitch you're not going off. Okay, we're still on it. And just hold on to your pocket flap if you are not double-sided tape it. And get over that little hump. There we go. Just stitch it on. When you get to the end, of course, make sure. I'm going to do a hand crank on the end to make sure I get to the end, but I'm not going off. Okay, and then I'm going to back stitch. All right. That was easy. So your flap now is installed on your exterior main front. Okay. And it looks like this. It's sticking straight up in the air like that. So this will be your flap of your pocket. And this is a very stiff pocket. Okay. Now, what you're going to do now is you're going to get your lining slip pocket A front. Lining slip pocket A. I had it. I did. I had it. That's back. Did it fall off my table? No. Let's see here. Take the lining slip pocket A front and fold it halfway, wrong sides together, and match the two short edges. Okay. I just had that, and it's right here in front of me. That's B, lining slip pocket A front. There it is. I thought I had it in my hand, and apparently I did not. I apologize. Okay, lining slip pocket A front. You're going to take it, and you're going to fold it in half like this, the way I actually already have it. So you're going to put wrong sides together, fold it in half, and then you've got this pocket here. So you're going to take this, and you're going to sew it, center it, mark your centers, and I'm just going to mark, let's see, let's do this, try to do this without, because I know when you fold it like this, it's going to go, well, it's pretty straight. So you're just going to try to center it, even though it's folded in half. This material sometimes doesn't, when you fold it, it like bunches. So let's get this marked, and we're going to center it under the flap here. Okay, so you're going to make sure that this lining part here goes up over the raw edge of the flap. You can see that, how I lay it down, and it covers it up. And then you're going to center it, and then how you want to make sure it's centered. When you put it down, marking your centers, you might want to check to make sure that it is still centered. And it does look, I think I'm off by like this tiniest little smidgen on that side. So it should be fine. Let me make sure here. I do want to scooch it just a little bit. And it's not that it's not centered, it's that I've got my pocket on a little crooked. There we go. There we go. All right, so I've got it where it's equal distances on each side of this pocket. And what you're going to do is you're going to sew it from the bottom up, and then you're going to go sew it completely at the top here, okay, where you're going to seal this up. This is not going to be open. You're going to seal this shut. You're going to sew over the flap and your lining. Again, several layers, so be careful if you have a domestic. And then go back down to where you're completely sewing this pocket onto this panel, okay? So I'm just going to give it a twirl and start sewing. I'm going to start sewing on actually this side. I could, since I'm not sewing in the middle, you could put a little bit of double-sided tape just to hold it still if you're concerned. Let me get my bobbin thread here out of the way. Just don't want that to get wound up in the bottom. There we go. There we got it. And you're going to just baste this on. So you're going to go 1/8 of an inch from the edge and then just sew it on. Get my threads. I'm just going to hold it down like this. Of course, again, as I always say, back stitch beginning to end. And just hold on to it if you're not doing anything else. It's just that this vinyl likes to hug the table. Not complaining about it. I love it. It's just, be careful. Might have to increase it. It's pulling this. I need to go, I think, a hair up, but what I can feel, you want to make sure you pull that up. So I'm going to go a hair further up. I'm just going to hand crank it down. There we go. There we go. And we're just going to grab my vinyl, though, and hold it up a little bit. And you just want to make sure you're sewing over that bottom of that flap. I did get really close. I think I got like a 1/16 of an inch, but I think that'll be fine. And then sew it down. Like that. So you're basically making the back, aligning back to your slip pocket here that you're going to put over it. That'll be your lining part of it when you go in. Basically, that's what you're doing, but at the same time, you're covering up that edge, okay? So, for that raw edge. Now, in the pattern, she recommends that to remove bulk, you can cut away these layers if you're worried about bulk in your pattern. I think I'm just going to cut away just the vinyl. Make sure I would keep it at least 1/4 of an inch away of the stitches, so that way your stitches don't get pulled. I can leave the, she says you can, you know, cut the back part of the pocket that you don't see, this part here. I'm just going to leave it. This doesn't add that much extra bulk because of the type of material that I use. But I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, and I could use that for something else. So there you go. You can cut that out, and that way you've got all the extra layers, because you're going to sew a bottom piece onto this. And I see that my pocket, I should have trimmed my bottom of my pocket. It does hang over just a smidgen on the bottom here, and I'm just going to straighten that out so when I sew on my base of the bag, it's straight. All right, so there you got that. Now, once you do that, she suggests you sew another line here. Let me think here. To crease it a little bit. And I think I will do that because I've got a very, because my, mine is very thick. Yeah, I think I'll do that little extra stitch there. It's an optional. It's not something you have to do. But I think I will go ahead and do it. And it's just 1/8 of an inch top stitch that you do. And I'm going to actually, yeah, I'm going to back stitch. It'll be okay if I back stitch here. As long as you hold the threads enough where it doesn't pucker. There we go. Just make sure you're straight, especially if you're using contrasting threads. And it kind of also secures the pocket a little bit to the bag. All right. Just trim your threads well, make sure. And the same thing when you sew that on, same thing. Make sure you start and stop on the flap, not outside of the flap. And just give that little extra stitching there. So this is when you're supposed to install the thumb lock at this point. So, and I need to think about my choice of lock. Where is, what did I do with it? Oh, I threw it. Oh, here I go. Oh, I need to make sure that you don't have any markings visible. And I think I'm good. The way we sewed it on, there's no visible markings. So I got that okay. I just wanted to make sure. Thought about that. Now I just need to get my hardware that I just had in my hand when I was showing all this stuff. Let's put my pattern piece away. You know, I always try to make sure everything's right here in front of me. But I tell you what, I'm just as bad doing this stuff when I'm cutting things out and getting things together. I feel like I'm always looking for something. All right. Now, my concern is, and I think my concern is valid, is this has to go through that layer. And I probably, after I said that, now I forgot to do it before I sewed my flap on. But I tell you what I might do, no, I don't think I can do it that way. All right, let me think. So, if I put this on, and this part on, is that going to be too thick for this to fit together and screw on? You know what I could do? I know what I'm going to do. All right, so I need to get my punch and punch my hole. I have like this, I'll show you when I go grab it, but I have this punch that I bought from Amazon, just a set of hole punches where I can punch a hole in here, and it's almost identical to this. And I'm going to punch a hole in here to do this, but what I'm going to probably do when I punch the hole, I'm going to cut this piece that's in between here and my inside. I'm going to cut a little bit of this out. I can do it that way since I neglected to do it with my before I put the panel on or put it on in the inside. So I don't know what I've my brain. So I'm going to go ahead, put this on pause real quick, and then I'm going to go get my punch set, and then I will we'll get the hole punch, and I'll show you the hole punch set. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So this is the hole punch set that I got from Amazon. Now, this particular set, or whatever brand I bought, it's not available anymore, but they have other ones out there that are just like this. It's just a different name, because obviously with Amazon, you're not, you know, it's kind of whoever has got what. So, and I'm not quite sure right now, you know, what they have available. So, you could always search die hole punch or die set punch kit. I think that's how I found it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip back part of my panel so it's not in the way. I don't want to accidentally get that in the way and cut a hole in that, because I'm going to cut the hole in the flap only, so that'll hold it out of the way. All right, Now, she gives you the measurements for the punch, for the spot on the flat pocket to put your turn lock, or sorry, your thumb lock part. But since we're doing it differently, I am going to think about this for a quick second, where I'm going to place it. I think 1 inch up would be nice. Because if I go 1 inch up and I center it, yes, I'm going to go 1 inch up. I'm going to make a little mark. Because what I'm going to do, that's going to be the center of my hole, that 1 inch mark. And that's just a faint little mark that I put on there. And I'm going to center my punch with that line in the center of my hole punch, if that makes sense. Okay. And then I'm just going to put my punch on here, and I'm going to make sure that when I punch this hole, it is just going to sit inside of my stitches, because if I punch into my stitches and cut the stitches, then they can unravel, and then that's a whole other mess. Now, some say to use like a wooden block underneath it, which is nice. I don't have one. I'm sure I could dig something up, but I don't have one right handy. I can use this. This, I don't know. Let me see first. May not work. You could use something like this if it's a smaller piece. I have this small little cutting board that I sometimes use. I flip it upside down. You can see it has got all kinds of holes punched in it. That's what I typically use. But I'm going to go ahead and get it centered. Now you can use, make sure we're centered good. I don't want to, okay. You can punch with, you can get plates for the rivet press. You can get plates where you can punch it that way. I got plates to make, key fob things, but the problem with that is sometimes it slides, and I worry about that. So you just gotta punch it. Got it started, and I'm probably gonna have to do a layer at a time, because this, if I had something more stable underneath it, or a little more, or if I hit it a little harder. So I'm going to go ahead and work on this, and then I'll be right back once I get my hole punched. Hi, and we're back. Okay, so I'm not going to lie, it was a struggle to get this on. So I'm glad I did it off camera. I did have to cut out a good amount of insides for this. So just a note, if you end up doing a turn lock, be very careful of your layers, because these turn locks are not meant to be on multiple layers. But I was able to get it put on and screwed shut. And I did lose some stitches. Like, I did have to cut into some stitches. But I did use some heavy duty glue. It's like it's Aleene's, the ultimate premium quality. It's like that E600 glue, cement glue kind of thing. It's a smelly glue. So anyway, I was able to get it on. So we're there on that. And then got some garbage there. And then so your next step is going to install your closure on your pocket. That's going to go below your flap, or your flap's going to hook into. I went ahead and punched the hole for my closure. So this is the closure on the turn lock. This is the actual turn part of the lock. And then it's what's going to go on this flap. So what I did is I went ahead and cut the hole while I had the camera on pause. And I had to use a smaller piece than I used for the opening of the turn lock. So pay attention and measure out your spaces for your turn locks if you're doing that, or you're doing some cutting. Okay, so we're going to set that aside and get this out of the way. And then I also, on where the turn lock part comes through, because it's just one thinner, one piece of vinyl, I did cut out a little piece of Decaville, and this is actually Decaville heavy. I did take a little piece and then cut a hole through that for my turn lock to go through that for the little bit of support. Be very careful not to use too much thickness behind this. I did this in another purse, then I had to dismantle it and pull out thickness out of it that I added to get the turn lock to close. I got a little carried away. So we're going to go ahead and get this installed, and I'm basically going to put my turn lock through the piece of Decaville and then push it up through the hole that I've already punched, okay? Also, to let you know how I selected the placement, I basically centered this pocket on, making sure, of course, there's enough, the equal amounts of distance on each side of the flap, so when you close the flap, you don't see a lot, you know, it's not, looks like it's crooked. And then I marked the placement with my, I did use the wipeable mark, but however, it still got cut out, so I didn't need to wipe it off, but I still used something just in case that. So that way, when you pull this closed like that, you'll be able to turn it shut and you'll have that where it looks nice. Okay, so I'm going to finish installing this, and I thought I'd go ahead and finish installing this. In here, and then you're going to put it through there, and then you've got a washer here that you're going to use behind the prongs of your turn lock. Now I like to use a little bit of glue. I'm going to get my glue out, and I'm just going to use the regular 3-in-1 glue on this, and I just like to put a little bit of glue just to kind of keep it still. Just be careful not to use too much so it doesn't ooze out on the other side. I just kind of keep it away from it and just use a little, and that push down my Decaville. One problem I hate about these glues is they are stringy glues, and I've always got glue everywhere. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of glue here between the backing and my Decaville, just so my thing doesn't move around. I just like this because it keeps it from shifting around once that glue sets. Okay, and then I'm going to put my washer on and then push these in, because of course this sticks out. I can't hold it down. So I'm going to do that. All right. Just that. Okay. And then push your prongs. I push my prongs inward on this. And I just I try to do a little smash, but I'll see if I can do this without, so it flattens better, but it's going to be hard a little bit because this sticks out. That's the hard part. But I think I might be able to achieve that, maybe. We'll see. There we go. I think we might do it this way. I'm just pushing that down so the prongs are flat. Okay, so get your thing back. Make sure it's straight. And I got a little glue, so let me get an alcohol wipe. Now, if you're going to use an alcohol wipe around your vinyl, just be careful not to wipe it on your vinyl. I'm just using it to wipe the glue around the post here. Just getting that glue off. There we go. Make garbage out of the way here. Again, I'm just using the Beacon 3-in-1 glue. That's all I'm using, just to stabilize that prop, just to stabilize it. Okay. Now, once we do that, let me get this out of the way. I got too much stuff in the way. Okay, once you do that, then you're going to go ahead and stitch this on. Basically, honestly, you're just going to baste it on, because when you put your strap connectors will cover this raw edge of your pocket. And so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put it back on my center marks. But once I do that, let me get some actual plastic clips, because these will hold more steady. They grab it a little better rather than the little silver hairpins. Get these out of the way. But I'm still going to go back and make sure, because I took it off and then brought it back, I'm going to take it and make sure that this is in the right spot. Then when I fixed it. So I'm going to take my pocket or my flap, take it down to the pocket and make sure that it's equal like it's supposed to. Make sure it turns, which is, that's good. It turns. So we're going to take it, open it back up, and then just hold it in place, or you can double side tape on the little edges here if you want. And I'm going to take this and baste it to my flap. Okay, so you're going to sew through the pocket into the flap. And it's, you can just baste it because it will be more fixed when you put the strap connectors on. And make sure you sew. If you go out a little bit, you can't be okay because your strap connectors will cover it a little bit. But, and I'm going to go down and then all the way to the bottom. And then I'm going to do the other side before I baste the bottom shut of the pocket. Because I want to make sure this is, it doesn't shift at all. Even though I sewed here, I want to make sure my pocket stays in one place. Looks like it's moving a little bit. There we go. Just got to kind of work with it and make sure it stays flat and doesn't pucker. And then I baste this side down. You just kind of got to hold your pocket still because it's going to want to shift. There's a lot of bulk behind your pocket. All right. We're getting there, guys. Sorry. This step is kind of taking a little bit. That was installing that little pocket stuff and everything. All right. Let me just clean up my threads a little bit. So you've got that basted on the sides. And I'm just going to go ahead and baste at the bottom shut. So when we attach our bottom, we've got to, it's closed up so we don't have anything extra flapping on the bottom here. Okay. All right, so there is your pocket. Let's close it. Put your thing, there you go. That is your, not cute. I like that. That is your pocket. And this kind of gives it a nice little feature to it because it sticks. Now, it's not going to poof out like that as much once you get the bag completed because you'll have, of course, backing behind it. But there you go. So our next step is to attach the strap connectors to the side of this panel. So you're going to attach your strap connectors before you put your base on. So I'm going to grab 2 of my strap connectors. And I've got them prepped. And what I'll show you, on your strap connectors, you're going to put a line in the center of the strap connectors and then apply some double-sided tape to each of the long edges. Some people do it in the center and they do a larger strip. I do 1/8 of an inch on the long edges. It's just, I like it that way better. That's my preference, but you can put a wider tape in the center and instead of doing how I do it. And then you're just going to take it and take the long edges and fold both long edges to the center. And you do want these to touch because you're not folding it anymore. It's going to be flat against your panel, so you're not going to see these raw edges. So make sure they touch. When you fold them in, just press them good. And you want to do that to both pieces, like that. And you're not going to top stitch them because when you top stitch, it will be top stitched on to the panel. But let's get these done real fast. I meant to prep these prior to videoing, and I apologize. I forgot. So we're just going to try to do these real fast. These don't take long to do because they're short. It's not like doing a strap or anything. Oops, I already peeled the tape off. So you're trying to peel the tape off, the backing off the tape, and it's already gone. Okay. So now she's going to give you some measurements that you're going to need to mark on your strap connectors, because that's where you're going to put your your square rings, rec rings, I should say. So you're going to grab 2 of your rec rings. And I do prefer, I mean, you can use something other than the rec rings, but actually on this type of bag, or the way you're going to connect them, you do want to use, I do prefer the rec rings. So get your measurements from the pattern. Okay, let me get my ruler. There it is. So I'm going to get my ruler and mark my spots. Oops, let's get the right side here. This is the side I want. Okay. All right. So you're going to make a mark based on what she gives you in the pattern on both of the and you're going to mark it on the inside where you've got the folded edges. Just give your mark there, or put your mark there, because you're going to fold the top edge to that line. And then you're going to put some, and I'm going to do the tape yet. You're going to get your rec ring, slip it over the end where you've got your mark here on that end. Take it and slip it in, and then fold this down, and this meets that line. So you're going to fold it to meet the line like that. And then go ahead and you can put a clip there to hold it in place. And then you're going to get some double-sided tape. Now I'm going to use 1/4 inch because I know it's not going to interfere with me stitching onto the bag, and it's a little more sturdier than the 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to take my, oops, that didn't peel right, did it? No, it didn't. Huh, there we go. Let me get that clean here. That didn't come off right. Oh, so go ahead, and you're going to go a little bit up past that fold. I'll show you here in a second. Don't go too far up, because you are going to stitch up here by the rec ring, and you don't want your double-sided tape. That number 1 holds down the where you folded it over, and then just take her on down. And you don't have to go all the way to the bottom, but you can if you want. But you're going to see how I put it a little bit over that fold, just a little bit, and then take it down straight through the center, because you're going to be sewing up to or close to that rec ring on this side here. You're going to be sewing that. So we're going to do that real quick on the other piece. I'm just going to leave my clip in, because just in case it wants to pull, because again, this is a thicker vinyl. I know I've said it 1,000 times, but I think it warrants a little re-mention why I'm keeping that on there when I have that tape. So there you go. There's my second one. So now you're going to take these, and you're going to peel your double-sided tape off. Let me keep on my page here. And you're going to place this over that edge, and you're going to do your best to center it over that, because again, that covers that raw edge up, and then it gives that look. If you want to, you can use this where your pieces meet. You can use that as a guide to the bottom, but you want to make sure that they're straight when you put them on the bag. So just make sure they're straight. My little clip is getting in the way. Let me put my clip on the other side, because it's getting in the way of my flap. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and peel this off and position it. And with the double-sided tape, you can remove it, pick it up and remove it till you have it exactly where you want it, and that it looks good and that they match. Again, you're not top stitching, because when you put it on the bag, you will be stitching it directly to the bag. And I'm just going to tuck this in a little bit like that, so that doesn't show. There we go. And then you're just going to give it a good push. You're going to do that to the other side. And then just line it up. Make sure it matches good. And then you just kind of want to look at it and make sure that they look even enough. The close, they should be pretty straight at the top. But if you eyeball it and it looks like something is way off, which I think this one is a little off. Looks like this one is higher than this one. So I'm going to measure it. It is. It's off about 1/4 of an inch. And I think she tells you. Yeah, she don't say how far it should be from the top, but I'm looking at this and I can see that I could see that this one was higher than that one. And then looking at when I measured it, I seen that it was. So I'm going to unpeel it a little bit and scoot it down some. It could be that my fold is not exact. But I'm going to go ahead and put it back on. And then, again, do my same thing. Making sure. So let's see where we're at here. Still not even. Okay, let's do it this way. Let's just do it this way. That's not my center point. Let's see. If that looks, there's a little hangover, but that's fine. We can trim it. The most important thing is the most important is they're even here at the top. So I'm going to look at it again, and that looks right. Let me remeasure, make sure I got my numbers right. Yep. And yep. All right. So they are even at the top. Again, that's the most important. If you have to hang it over a little bit, that's fine. That's trimmable. It's up here when it's sewn on. When you get these straps sewn on, and then you see that they're awkward. Yeah, you got to unstitch. If you want to save the bag, you have to unstitch and then try to restitch in the same holes on vinyl, and that doesn't always work well. And also, you run the risk of damaging your vinyl as well. So you're going to top stitch these on, and you're going to sew as close to the rec ring as your presser foot allows, and then go over and back down. Again, at a top stitch, I'm using a 5-point stitch length and an 1/8 of an inch away from each of the edges here. And that will hold this down. That will keep the pocket more sturdy. And that will be almost finished with our front panel. And we're going to do almost the exact same thing on the back. So the back will go a little bit quicker. Just go slow. And just make sure when you get to the top where the parts are folded in, if you see that they want to peek out a little bit, you can always just kind of encourage them to hide a little bit. Let's see. I think I can go maybe one more stitch. I don't know. I think that's, let's see. Yeah, I think I'm going to try to go one more stitch. Yeah, we're not going to push it any more than that. All right, so I'm going to go across over. I'm going to give this a little tuck. And then see where I'm at. Let's see. Nope. We are going to hand crank a stitch here. I'm close, but not close enough. And then if I go a full stitch length, it will be too narrow. There we go. And then go down. All right, we're going to do that to the other side real quick. I want to pause it real quick and do the other side. That way you don't have to watch me sew the other side the exact same way. So I'll be right back. We're back. We've got both of our strap connectors sewn on the bag. And then there we got our flap on our front pocket. So that's the front, almost the front of our bag. The one final step we have to do on the front of our bag is attach the bottom band. Okay, so you're going to grab one of your bottom bands, and then you're going to put it on the bag. Now, I'm going to undo this because that just pulls my fabric. So your bottom band, you'll have little cutouts like this. That's the bottom of your bag. This is what you're going to sew. So the straight long edge without the cutouts, this side here is what, see how you got that cut out there, is what you're going to sew directly to the bag. So you're going to take it, right sides together, and then given the seam allowance that she gives you in the pattern, you're going to stitch this on. I am going to clip this on so it does not slide around on me. It does have an angle to it, so be careful of that, or be aware, I should say, of the angle on this bottom band here. So I'm going to go ahead and get this clipped on. Again, you've got several layers at the bottom of your bag, so just be careful. Let me just use these clips that are out so I don't have to keep trying to grab clips out of a thing. It's good enough to hold. This is a little long. I think I'm stretching it too far. Let me do this. You just want to make sure it matches up. And I used pattern pieces, so these should match a little better. I just think I've got it stretched too far. There we go. Yeah, that works. Just make sure everything matches well. All right. So I've got my bottom bands so attached, right sides together, and we're going to stitch this at the seam allowance she gives, at the regular stitch length that you may use. Got some layers here. That's sewn on, and this is going to be the front, almost the front of your bag, because it's a secret sew, so I can't say. So you're going to take this and fold this down to where the seam allowance is behind the bottom band of the bag. And it will naturally want to do that, but just fold it down, and then you're going to top stitch this bottom band. And you're going to top stitch it on the band itself. So, and that's, again, what I always say, a larger stitch length and 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. And that will be your top stitch on this front panel. Just hold it, make sure you hold it out, but don't pull too hard. Again, you've got a lot of layers here. So I'm going to tell you, if you're sewing this on a domestic, you may want to use lighter weight fabrics like cotton or a waterproof canvas or something on this bag. Just a suggestion. All right, so this is part of, there's still one more piece that we do in the next step, I'm just going to say, but this is so far our front panel. Now, this is at the point where you're going to attach that piece of Decoville or your interfacing. You are going to attach this to the back of your piece here, and you're going to stay out of your seam allowances. And this, what I typically do is I just do like little lines on each side, like a top and a top or a bottom, and then one of the sides to line it up. So that keeps me out of my seam allowances, and it tries to keep it a little more straight as far as not being so far out of whack. So that's how I do that. So I got to press this, iron this on. I can't use my heat press because I've got this big old pocket in the way, but I will iron this on. And then when we finish the bag, this will be interfaced here. But I wanted to tell you this is the point when you put this on your bag. I'm going to just take this. I'm just going to clip it like that. So that way I know I've addressed it. And we're going to set this aside. I'm going to put this up here. Stack it on top of my table. Okay. Now, we are going to move on to the back. And then again, this is going to go a little quicker because you're going to do repeat steps on the back. But first, you want to grab, of course, your exterior back panel. And then you're going to grab, drop stuff on the floor. You're going to grab your exterior, your slip pocket lining, slip pocket A back, okay? And then you're going to do the exact same thing as you did on the front. You're going to fold it in half, wrong sides together. Find your centers. And then I forgot I need to put my centers on my exterior main panel. That helps me, myself, to line it up better. I like that. Okay. And then you're going to take this piece, and I'm just going to try to find the center on one of these pieces, because when I fold this stuff in half, it will bunch up, and I don't feel like I'm getting an accurate measurement. So I'm going to just take this, fold it back down, and then I'm going to put it on the bag, center it, and put it on the bag. I'm going to go ahead and clip the bottom just to hold it still, and I'm going to sew this on just like I sewed on the other one. I'm going to go from side, top, and back down, just like the other one. I'm going to go ahead and pause it, and then I'll be back, and I'll have this sewn on. Okay, so I'm back. I've got this sewn on, just like the front. And then what I did, just like the front, I cut away just the vinyl off the back. I must say this is a different way of doing a slip pocket backing, lining. Typically, usually when you do a slip pocket in a bag, you just use this part of it as just the back of the pocket. I mean, I like that it gives you a nice, pretty look on both sides, and you got both the linings, but it is different. I'm not going to lie. I've not done it that way before. So honestly, if I were to make this again, I may only on the back of the pocket, not on the front because it's needed on the front, but on the back slip, I probably would just use the vinyl as the backing versus using a lining piece. I would just use the back as the lining because that's not unusual to do that. But this is a nice, I mean, it does make it a lot nicer of a bag if you do something like that. I'm just getting these clipped on. So now we are sewing on the slip pocket exterior. So we've got that clipped on, and then we're just going to base this on just the sides and then the bottom. I'm going to do my sides first. That way there's no slippage. And then I'm going to base the bottom. And then, again, this is, I mean, quick and fast for the lining or the back of the bag. Repeat steps, just not as many because we don't have to worry about a flap on this one. This is just your basic slip pocket. So I'm going to pause and then get this spaced on, and I'll show you when I'm done. So my slip pocket is installed. That's all we need for that slip pocket. Again, it does give it a very nice look on the inside. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It looks very nice on the inside. But anyway, so now we're going to do the strap connectors just like we did the other ones. Fold them in and then sew them on just like the others. So I will go ahead again and then just get these sewn on. I'm just kind of going over the steps, what steps we're doing next at this point since it's repeat. And that way you don't have to watch me do the exact same thing as you did on the front of the bag. Except the back, of course, just has the slip. So I'm going to go ahead and once again, we're going to put this on pause, and then I will get these strap connectors done. Just remember, pay attention to the measurements to where you install your D-ring, And what's most important when you install these strap connectors, that the top is even with each other and that you know what the measurements are in the front. You want to keep that same measurement in the back. That way when you put your straps on the bag, you don't have one strap higher than the other. So make sure they're even at the top and the same width, the same distance from the top of the bag to the top of the strap as the front panel. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, throw this on pause once again, and get these sewn on. Be right back. We are back, and then so we've got our slip pocket installed on our back panel as long as our strap connectors. And there's one thing to note, this panel is just slightly, just a slight bit shorter than the front panel. I think it has to do with the final completion of the bag. So when you put the strap connectors on, make sure that you don't do the exact same like I told you before I paused it. Because when I started putting them on, I realized there was a lot of difference in the hangover at the bottom. And I realized that there was a reason for that, because this is, again, just the slightest bit smaller than the front panel. So watch for that when you install the strap connectors on the back. Okay, so strap connectors are done. We're going to install the strap, the bottom band to the bottom of this bag, and we'll finish with that. Now I'm going to go ahead and attach it on. I'm not going to pause for this because I will go ahead and do some mentions while I am sewing this on. So this part here, you do not interface it yet for the back of the bag. She does not have you do that until delivery number 4. I have noticed that. So once you install this on, do not interface the back panel yet. Just the front panel. And then you also want to, let's see, that's not in this part. Okay, so we're not to that point because this ends this part, and then delivery number 4 will actually be the completion of the bag. So you'll be assembling the bag pretty much. You got a few more steps, and then you're going to assemble the bag. So that'll be nice. I knew this was going to go a little long, but I did want to get all of it in one video. We're almost there. Let me just make sure I'm keeping my pieces straight. And I do hope you enjoy this series. I'm enjoying doing it. And again, this pattern is now, the full pattern is now available for sale at Shamballa Bags. It's Shamballa Designs website. I will put a link in my bottom, in my description, in case you want to go purchase the full pattern. She has, and then if you want to look at her other patterns, I'm going to tell you what, she has some beautiful bags. She has unique bags, and she also likes to do piping in her bags. I've not yet to do that. I've eliminated my piping in her bags because I'm not done piping yet. So I'm kind of wanting to try it, but I've stayed away from it with my domestic, and I do want to try it with this machine. I just haven't sat down to make sure I can do it correctly. I know it's not overly difficult. It's just making sure you get it accurate. All right, we are almost to the end. All right, so this is my back panel. This is off just a smidgen. Yeah, that is off just a smidgen. I'm going to clean that up a little bit. There we go. And trim my threads. So this is my back panel. Now, again, delivery number 4, we will complete the bag. There is like a couple more steps to complete the front and back panel before we assemble it. Again, it's a drop lining, so that will be really nice to have a drop lining versus trying to birth the bag. And then, let's see. I hope you enjoy it. Again, as I already stated, I hope you enjoyed this series. I do want to do some more patterns 4 Shamballa bags or some more tutorials for her bags. So I hope you look forward to that. If you find me and you're not a subscriber, I would appreciate it if you do become a subscriber. If you are a subscriber and you do like my videos, I would appreciate a like, thumbs up, a note, or just even a small comment. That would be wonderful. I think that will help my tutorials get out to other people. So I would appreciate it. So I'm going to, let's see if I can scoot back, front panel, back panel. Look at those colors. I'm so glad that I chose these colors. And not knowing how I was going to assemble them on the bag, I knew the green wanted to be my main panel, but I almost had this pocket. I'll show you. I almost had this pocket, the black, because I ran out of this color, but my order came in of this color, this Biscuit Faux Reel from Tulip Bee. My order came in quickly. She ships quickly, by the way. So anyway, and I was able to use the Biscuit for this pocket, and I'm so glad I did that. I'm really glad that order came in, because I'm going to tell you what, I just think it really, really makes the bag. So anyway, enough of that. Enough of admiring my own work. Anyway, so thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, you guys. And everyone, have a great day. I look forward to getting number 4 done and getting everything completed. Goodbye.